don't have to. I mean, you can sit outside. The speaker door outside. Yeah.
Gotcha. There's a question. Thanks.
This may not be the right time, but just a suggestion of your appointment. In the past, what we like to do, just as a welcome.
That's fine.
Hello. My chair needs new wheels. Hey there.
How are you?
Everybody here? Call the meeting to order. Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Here. Changed.
Trustee Dodge?
Here.
Trustee Guerra?
Here.
Trustee Ruzick?
Here.
Trustee Calandrella?
Here.
Trustee Carroll?
Here.
Mayor Pico?
Here.
Please rise for pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
approval of the July 6, 2018 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting of July 16, 2018.
Second. Any changes? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrella?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Guerra?
Aye.
Trustee Ruzick?
Aye.
Trustee Carroll?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Appreciation Award.
Illinois Concerns of Police Survivors.
Who's presenting?
So I'm going to present an award here. I'll come down and speak. Several of our officers took place in a 400-mile, 4-day bike ride to benefit survivors of law enforcement officers who have died in the line of duty. Police personnel had to raise the required amount of money and volunteered to bicycle across the state from Alton, Illinois to the Chicago Police Gold Star Memorial Park. How much did you guys raise?
It was in excess of $10,000 with a combined effort with Chicago Police.
Great job. I'm calling them up all individually, but thank you guys very much for the hard work and for the effort and for raising the money for an outstanding cause. First investigator, Tim Murray. Orland Park ESDA member, Jim Jankowski.
Good job, buddy.
Patrick Murray. School Resource Officer, Scott Schuster. Retired Lieutenant Robert Ryder.
Good job, buddy.
Retired Sergeant Robert Soko.
Nice job, Bob.
And Ronald Coos. Can everyone give it a great all around applause?
Congratulations.
You gotta blade it.
You gotta squeeze a little.
Yeah, thank you all for your effort.
It's 64 parks. I'll do that.
Ready? Orland Parks Explore 64 scavenger hunt.
So we're awarding Explore 64, so I know a lot of guys here, so it's too loud. We had a competition where we have 64 parks in Orland Park, neighborhood parks, which is a phenomenal thing in Orland Park. A lot of people know. So we did a scavenger hunt. It was for a month, but we had which the scavenger hunt, we did a check-in at the park, we did pictures and question and answers. So we also have a park districts. The Village of Orland Park pays for all the parks and recreation programs, which most of our, I think all of our neighboring towns don't have that. So we want to push all our parks and have our families go out there, play, enjoy, go to the other side of town and whatnot. And we had we had a lot of people participate, actually overflow, and we had to kind of go paper system for some overflow. And the Nolan family who won, who's not here today, touched all 64 and did all the requirements within one day. So I don't show up to see what this family looks like, but I guess they ran all over the place with the whole family, so that's great. I know that the Nolan family won't be here, but we do have a couple of members here, and there's different prizes between the sports complex membership and whatnot. So it was a great contest the first year. I want to thank staff for kind of jumping on board quickly and getting it done, and hopefully it'll go next year. So with that, I think the first people, the Rios family, are they?
Rios? No?
Yes. Okay, maybe not. They won. They came in second place. So I hit all of them within 2 days. Lorenzi, Laniosz family. Thought they were. Oh, here, perfect. Lanios. I'm sorry, Lanios family. Got that. So who did you drive them all around? Yeah. Okay.
Move this.
All right, next year you got to do first place, all right? You got to pick up the pace, all right? Thank you. Moritz family? Okay, there you are. So did you bring them to it?
My wife and I my wife's working, so.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say 2 dads came up there. That's great. Okay, go ahead. Sarah might want to. Sorry. No. Thank you. No problem. All right. All right. Congratulations. All right.
Good. Kiwanis Club presentation.
No, me.
My name is Jeff Berenson. I'm treasurer of the Orland Park Kiwanis Club. And if you don't know about Kiwanis it's probably not surprising me. We're the best kept secret in Orland Park. We've been around for a long time. We raise about $100,000 a year. We've raised about $3 million over the last 25 years. And being a treasurer for the last 20 years, I can tell you our only expenses are $15 filing fee for the state and our P.O. box. We give it all away to everybody that needs it, including scholarships to Sandburg, the Bridge Center, the center. We give it all, and we found a great organization to give it to today. Zach, can you come on up?
You may be familiar with Orland Park Baseball for All. It's a cause that this young man, a sophomore, could be a junior now, it's at Paris High School, decided to take on the challenge of raising money to build a fully accessible, handicap accessible, that is, baseball field in Orland Park. The village, with the board's support, has designated property for this cause, but Zach, with the help of his sister, is raising money for the cause to actually build the park, and then it will turn over for the village to maintain. So Kiwanis wanted to offer some support along with other organizations.
Great, $4,000.
Anyone else here is invited to come talk to us.
Nice job, Zach.
Recognition of Community Service Officer.
Mr. Mayor and the village board, it's with great pleasure I bring you Sam Jabuto, one of our best community service officers in the village of Orland Park. Sam's a 4-year veteran of the Orland Park Police Department. Approximately about one month ago, we had a disabled veteran out there, about 85 years old, struggling out in the front lot of the village hall. Sam approached the gentleman, escorted him out, and walked him into the village hall where he received some services from the Secretary of State's office. Sam sat with that gentleman for approximately 30 minutes. Sam then escorted him back out to his car, made sure he got back in his car safely and on his way home. This gentleman sent a voicemail, or left a voicemail to the Village of Orland Park Police Department, very heartfelt, explaining how respectful Sam was and how thankful he was for the services that Sam provided that day.
He's shy.
Sam exemplifies what we see on a day-to-day basis from our police department and the rest of our staff, and he was recognized, but I can tell you this happens on a regular basis, so you guys should be proud of the staff we have and the police department we have here in Village of Orland Park.
Joint Emergency Telephone System Board appointment.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Guerra.
I move to advise and consent the appointment of Commander Tom Hottinger to the Joint Emergency Telephone System Board.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Guerra.
Aye.
Trustee Carroll.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Ruzick.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Thomas Hottinger,
Having been appointed to the office
having been appointed to the office
of the Joint Emergency Telephone System Board
of the Joint Emergency Telephone System Board
in the Village of Orland Park
in the Village of Orland Park
in the counties of Cook and Will aforesaid,
in the counties of Cook and Will, aforesaid,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
of the Joint Emergency Telephone System Board
of the Joint Emergency Telephone System Board
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, welcome.
Good.
Yes.
Consent agenda?
Consent agenda, item A, payroll for July 13th, 2018, and July 27th, 2018, approval. Item B, accounts payable from July 17th, 2018 through August 6th, 2018. Item C, IDOT, conveyance of the 1 temporary easement. Item D, conveyances of 7 temporary easements. Item E, coal chute addition to 1 2019 Ford F-450 4x2 dump truck, NJPA award. Item F, sanitary sewer cleaning and televising 2018 to 2020 bid award. Item G, Village Code Amendment, Title 7, Chapter 1, Section 3, Business Licenses Procedures Ordinance. Item H, Village Hall Green Roof Project, Tree Preservation and Green Infrastructure Account. Item I, Village Landscape Planting Project, Tree Preservation and Green Infrastructure Account. Item J, Land Development Code Amendment, Section 63-07, Signs Ordinance. Item K, Orland Park Health and Fitness Center driveway construction. Is there anything to take off consent? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Dodge,
move to approve. Second.
call the roll.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Dodge.
Before we call the roll, just a quick comment about the Land Development Code. Just it's been a long time that we've been working on this thing. Glad to see that we've made some progress and look forward to, as we go forward, addressing some of the outstanding sign issues or issues we've had, like the legal non-conformings that we've currently been holding off on for a while. Thank you.
Call the roll.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Carroll?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Guerra?
Aye.
Trustee Ruzek?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Municipal vehicle sale,
Ordinance number, please.
5317.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to pass ordinance number 5317 entitled an ordinance authorizing the sale of municipal property to Orland Hills, Illinois, a 2014 Ford Police Interceptor sedan.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Ruzek?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Guerra?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Carroll?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Waste Management of Illinois contract extension,
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to approve the Second Amendment to the Refuse, Recycling, and Landscape Waste Collection and Disposal Agreement with Waste Management of Illinois, Inc. for refuge, recycling, and yard waste collection and disposal, including changes as detailed in the attached agreement.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I know Mr. Ingram, Director of Public Works, is here for an explanation of this particular item.
So Director Ingram, could you give us just a brief summary of this?
I'll try and be brief. With changes to the village's leaf collection program, we're required to look at changing the contract with Waste Management. To accommodate those changes, we've been working with Waste Management over the past several months. Through negotiations with them, we've been able to extend the yard waste collection period an additional 2 weeks through the second week of December, and we've also been able to get Waste Management to provide 5,000 yard waste containers to the areas that previously received leaf collection from the village. The additional contract changes include an annual community support donation increased from $25,000 to $50,000. The At Your Door Special Waste Collection Program, which would begin in 2019, and the contract would be extended for an additional 5 years. The 5-year addition would be at a 3% escalator as compared to the 2.5% current. The changes, there was also a few changes to the recycling program due to changing market conditions with recycled materials. Currently, there's no market for recycled materials, and it's more difficult for waste management to find places to sell it. And then there's also some minor changes with language cleanup for street sweeping and collection of refuse from a few village buildings. We do have Ella Plum and Mike Brink here from Waste Management if there's any specific questions. We're typically used to having Mike Morley. He was unavailable tonight.
Are there any questions or comments?
Mayor Pico.
Trustee Dodge.
Just for Joe and for John, so it's probably not news to us about what's going on with the recycling market, but I think over many years we've built up a pretty good practice as a community in terms of recycling. So you guys already have queued up a public information program so people understand what's going on in the marketplace, what it means for the contract, why we're doing this, and then what they should do going forward, correct? I don't know if you want to address that to the folks from Waste. It's up to you.
Yeah. We are working with Waste Management to continue to expand that marketing material and also what can be recycled now. There's a lot of items that used to be considered recyclable that are no longer recyclable. So we are working on a campaign with the cooperation of Waste Management to get to the homes.
And then following up on that, just this is one of those steady state types of reminders because, like I said, we've all gotten used to resource separation, and that's not the case anymore in world markets for recyclables. So I don't know if
that's right. So can someone from Waste Management expand on any of those comments?
I don't think most people understand what's going on in the recycles market, so I just want to make sure that's put out there early and often in terms of the information.
Yeah, we can provide plenty of information on that, just in case, if nobody is familiar with it. China recently limited the amount of materials that they're accepting into their country. By 2021, they want to be fully self-sufficient, and they probably won't be taking any materials anymore. But in the meantime, while they are taking some materials, they've lowered the amount of contamination that's acceptable from 10% to 0.5%. And right now, there's not any processing facilities in the United States that can meet that requirement. So really the most important thing is keeping the material clean, no contaminants in there. And some of the bigger ones we see in there are plastic bags are number one. Used pizza boxes are huge. Material with still food in it is another one. And then plastics that aren't necessarily containers. We get like a lot of plastic toys and that kind of thing. I was in the facility a couple of weeks ago and a 3-foot snowman came up the line. So things like that, and garden hoses are another no-no. So those are some of the bigger ones we're getting right now that aren't acceptable.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Carroll.
I'd just like to also comment as the former Public Works Chair that I'd like to thank Waste Management for a 100% increase in their community support contribution, and also their At Your Door Special Collection Program came in much lower than it was originally priced when we started talking about it 2 or 3 years ago. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just mention the At Your Door, what that means, because some people might not mean that. It means that Waste Management will take TVs and monitors and paint cans and everything. You put it in front of your garage door, and you give them a call, and they will pick that up.
Great. Right. Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Ruzick?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Guerra?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Carroll?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Disposal of village property?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Calandrello.
I move to pass ordinance number 1318, entitled ordinance authorizing the donation of...
Dan, it's 5318.
I'm sorry, what?
5318.
Thank you. Let's try one more time. I move to pass ordinance number 5318, entitled ordinance authorizing the donation of municipal property to the Kids Around the World, Inc., Brentwood Park playground equipment.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Carroll.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Guerra.
Aye.
Trustee Ruzick.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Brentwood Park renovation bid award.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Calandrello.
I move to approve awarding bid 18-10034, 18-034 Brentwood Park renovation to Innovation Landscaping in the amount not to exceed $170,152.06.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Guerra.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Ruzick.
Aye.
Trustee Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Brentwood Park playground equipment purchase.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Calandrello.
I move to approve the purchase of Brentwood Park playground equipment and pavilion structure from Park Rec in the amount not to exceed $78,800.34, and approve the purchase of Octagon Gaga Ball Pit System from Coaches Griff's Gaga Ball Pits LLC in the amount not to exceed $3,665.20, and approve the purchase of 3 benches, 3 picnic tables, and 2 complete basketball set-up poles from No Toys Leisure Products at a cost not to exceed $11,120.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, just want to put that out there. The Gaga Ball Pit is a miniature dodgeball set.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Dodge.
Trustee Calandrello, does he have any videotape of him trying out this product?
I'm sorry to disappoint, but no.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Carroll.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Guerra.
Aye.
Trustee Ruzick.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Video gaming within the corporate limits of the Village of Orland Park.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Carroll.
Ordinance number, please.
5319.
I move to pass ordinance number 5319 entitled an ordinance creating a new chapter 18, video gaming of Title 7, Business and License of the Orland Park Village Code, and making other changes relative to video gaming within the village.
Second.
The motion has been put. At this time, I'll open it up to comments from the floor, but before we move to that, I would like to remind everyone here who wants to comment that we've had 3 special meetings on this, 2 other hearings on this, so we probably have a total of about 7 to 8 hours worth of testimony on this. Some of you, all 5 or 6 times have spoke to us, so we definitely understand your positions. So if there's nothing new, we would request that, we've heard you, we've definitely taken all this into account, we've been looking at this for a long time. However, if you want to speak, feel free to come on up, but you are on a 3-minute time limit. With that said, Dawn Friend.
Dawn Friend, 20-year resident of Orland Park. Clearly, as Mayor Pico just said, this has been a divisive issue in our community. We've been talking about it for months now. On one hand, you've got the side that is against the video gaming. They thought this was kind of a done deal, most people, because of the spring referendum. Went their way, they assumed that the village board would vote in accordance with the referendum. On the other side, you've got the people who were in favor of video gaming. They're saying, that referendum in the spring, there were 2 questions, it was kind of confusing. It was a primary election, not a general election, so, maybe we didn't get the turnout that we should have had. What I'm proposing at this point is a binding referendum in this November general election, so we'll get a good turnout. 1 simple yes or no question: do you approve of video gaming in Orland Park? And let the people decide. Thank you.
Thank you. Winnell Whitmore?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Tim McCarthy. I represent
Tim,
the Orland
Winnell
Park-
Whitmore. Is who I
Sorry,
called.
time?
Winnell Whitmore is who I called.
That's me, sir.
So, I'm sorry, still, it's his turn.
I didn't realize we had to register for
Well,
You've said my name, and I've spoken about this
and
before.
he didn't get your time. You got 3 minutes.
I think the village has spoken. I like the idea of the last young lady, and if there's anything to be done or said, we should hold it off until then. There are 1,001 issues that are important to everybody in the village, and each of us have different views on things. I live on Wheeler Drive, and I hate that we were promised to have renovation done over there, and then we were told, oh, sometime later we'll get around to it. And a survey was done, 700 cars an hour travel down Wheeler, and does anybody do anything about that? No, but we're worried about some businesses having gambling available for people, and we know that some people are going to be addicts, and it's going to create problems as well as profit. Let's put it on the ballot again, or just listen to the people here and think about it and say, we need to do what's right for everybody in the community, or do a door-to-door or every household survey or something, but we don't need to discuss this again and have the public disappointed, because we've said no twice, and yet here we are again. It's very, very disappointing and disgusting.
Thomas Mulvey.
Good evening, Thomas Mulvey, 14148 William Drive, Orland Park, Illinois. Just have a few questions that you guys can comment on if you wouldn't mind. First one is that part of the reason that we're here for this ordinance on video gambling is because of the people's good nature of wanting to help these bars, these small businesses as part of our economy in our village. I'm kind of confused because on an article on June 8th, 2018 in the Southtown, our village finance director, Mrs. Momp, stated, and I'll quote her, "A bright spot is that, according to Mrs. Momp, business has been brisk at our grocery stores, our restaurants, and our bars in the village," to the point of stating $10.6 million in increased earnings since 2016. So let's be clear here, if part of this is to help these small businesses because we feel it upon our good nature to do that, then why are we conflicting that with stating in the paper upon interview that these bars are not having a difficult time? The only other thing I'll add to that is you're starting a dangerous precedent because you're looking at a percentage of businesses probably less than 20% of our overall economy. What are you going to do for the rest of these small businesses that are going to come before you with this precedent and say, well, hey, you know what, I'm struggling, I'm having a difficult time competing, what can you do for me? The second is that I find it interesting that you're here to vote. You're at this point of voting. I know who the village is that will get part of the revenue. I know who the state is. I know who the bars are that want it. But we haven't talked at all about who the companies that are even going to be interested. Now, maybe you can't pick them because the bars do. But who are the companies that are interested? We know who's invested the most amount of money here for this situation. Why aren't we talking at all about them? You know, one of these companies that has spent a lot of money here is a company that turned around and sued the municipality because they didn't like the licensing ordinance. They also were involved in a suit where they were forced by the Illinois Board of Elections to dissociate from someone because there was a conflict over who governed that case. And it was found that the Illinois Board of Elections couldn't govern the fact that these people also provided ATM machines. you're asking for litigation here. One of the companies that's involved, that we know that is involved here, is a poster child for pay for play. They held the National Park of Yosemite Park, they held the government hostage for $51 million by trademarking all of the landmarks. Who are we getting involved in? It's not as simple as that we're just going to help these small businesses by letting them have video gambling machines. And all of you that have talked to me, and I thank all of you that have given me dialogue, know that my reason for being here is the research shows that these games unfairly target addiction and they target seniors. Now, it is what it is. I didn't write that research. It's there. So you're taking this on. You're giving it your approval as you bring it into the village. And thirdly, just out of interest, I mean, does our ethics ordinance apply here? Because if you look at both the one that's on the website as well as your own ethics ordinance that you have, and I'm going to quote that it's called an impression of influence. It says that you should not be allowed to accept money, services, loans, travel, entertainment, hospitality, or any other influence circumstances that it could be reasonably inferred or expected that the gift was intended to influence the
15 seconds.
Performance of duties. So if you turn to video gambling firms like Cash Bets on Illinois politicians, this same instance was the mayor or village president Ragucci in Oakbrook Terrace. He was given $1,000 before the day of the vote. And in this article, he states, I did not vote. I took the money, but I did not vote. So precedent is set here. So I hope that that's the same tonight. Thank you very much.
Noreen Williams.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. My name is Noreen Williams, and I've been a citizen of Orland Park for 20 years. I'm a mom, and I'm proud of being in Orland Park, but I have some concerns. We already voted as citizens in Orland Park. Even if you call it just to see what people would think, they gave you the answer. They said no. So I don't understand why this has not been put to rest. It's like you're not listening to the citizens of Orland Park, which are mostly families. Gambling addiction is a very serious disease that suburbs should be looking at in ways to help those who are suffering from this disease. Why would we in Orland Park encourage the gambling addiction by allowing gambling in our suburbs? We should be helping to solve this disease, not to encourage it. How far does Orland Park go to make money? Are the businesses' concerns more important than the average Orland Park citizen? Who voted all of you in? Was it the businesses or was it the Orland Park residents? Those are the ones you need to listen to. If you understand the concerns because of all these meetings, why aren't you listening to us? I don't understand that. The first woman who spoke had a brilliant idea. If you're unsure, instead of voting yourselves without our consent as Orland Park citizens, let's do this in November. Then all the citizens of Orland Park can vote once and for all. Make it clear it's either yes or no. That way, it's done. So I'm asking the mayor and the trustees who voted you in, please listen to us. Because we're also going to be listening to the outcome of this. and we will vote the next time people are up for election. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Joe Mulvey.
Good evening.
Sorry about that.
Good evening, Joe Mulvey, address 7830 Sea Pines Road, Orland Park, Illinois. And Mayor, your point is well taken. I can assure you I'm bringing nothing to the table here that wasn't already said. And so to that very point, I wish to quickly call attention really how your role had come to play. On October 3rd of 2018, it was decided by this board that against independent consultant that made this recommendation, and I'm referencing the Orland, the Southtown, that a second assistant village manager position be created due to the quote-unquote extensive growth of the community. That put the trusteeship in a position of making a decision, and it was the following. It could have maintained the role as part-time mayor and have hired a full-time assistant, as was advised as optionally to you, or you could have bundled the role with that of mayor. And so rightfully, rationally, objectively, you chose option 2. That presented a problem, because as the role of mayor, Mr. Peekow's responsibilities are not obviated from the legal and ethical accountability of that of the second role. And what I mean by that is that were a second individual to have been hired for that position and accepted the same gifts that are listed on his D2s, they would have been immediately regarded as a kickback and in clear violation of the Ethics Clause 1-8-5, Article B. And for that reason, I respectfully, again, Mr. Peekow, ask that you recuse yourself from this vote this evening. And as my brother had already pointed out, Village President of Oak Brook Terrace had recused himself from this very same vote. So there is both legal and there is governmental precedence here in a local community. So please, as the lady kindly that before me in her appeal, the people have spoken.
20 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Jim Harmoning.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, and those of us interested in video gambling. I can't believe we're here tonight. 3 months ago, the issue was tabled, and I felt the issue was going to be dead. I crossed out a lot of the things I wanted to write, and I wanted to say I was the guy who puts Frosty the Snowman in the recycling bin, so sorry for that. Don't tell my wife. This is not economic development. The costs to the village, including legal costs, will far exceed the 5% the village will net in revenue. If you don't think you're going to get sued, you're mistaken. The 30% is by definition arbitrary. Has any other jurisdiction used a percentage of liquor licenses the way we want to? I have not found any. For the first 365 days, what happens on day 366? Do all Class A liquor license holders then get video gambling? What are the rules for a case-by-case basis? Now, I've only had a few days to review the new ordinance, but that screams court challenge to me. These companies are not afraid to go to court. They've sued other jurisdictions. If you don't care, if you think you'll win, you're still going to be spending our taxpayer dollars for something that we can avoid by voting against video gambling. Another issue ripe for a lawsuit is the village board may require mandatory identification process for all individuals entering the segregated area. This is a may. When does that happen? Do you guys have to vote and say, as a board, we must check them at one of these places that have it? What does the may mean? Again, shouldn't it be shall or must? We're lucky. We have an excellent diversified tax base. You guys are messing with the balance if you vote this in. It's like bringing zebra mussels into Lake Michigan. You're changing the character of the community. Please vote no and listen to the people.
Thank you.
Was there anybody else who wished to speak that didn't sign in?
Tim, did you want to speak?
Tim, did you want to speak?
Tim, do you want to
didn't
speak?
sign in? Do you want to speak?
I'm having a real problem hearing. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
Tim McCarthy from the Small Business Association. I'm not going to go over things that we've been over for the last 2 or 3 years. The reality, the primary reason we came in here was so that we can compete with other businesses in surrounding communities. We have not been able to do so. In 2009, when the ordinance was enacted, Mayor McLaughlin at that time promised us 2 years he would have an ordinance suitable for us businesses in Orland Park to live up to the standards of Orland Park, and he would promise me he'd put it together. A week before the last election, he came and said the ordinance was done. We have the ordinance done. This is the strictest ordinance I've ever seen. We need the ability to compete with our competitors. I'm 100 feet from Homer Glen. They have video gaming. The way the village has approached this has been very admirable. We've had numerous meetings. We've had a vote, a non-binding referendum. But let me tell you people on the board, we have 50% of the vote, and we vote. So don't sit here and be threatened by somebody saying they're going to vote you out, because we vote as well. And I really appreciate any support that you will give this ordinance to level the playing field in this town. It's a start. We can work on it. Thank you very much.
Sir.
Mayor, my name is Jim Zieber, and I'm an Orland Park resident, and I favor video gambling. Here's the reasons why. As I know it, video gambling is legal throughout the states, and it is totally safe because they got surveillance cameras, cops walk into establishments, and like the gentleman just said, it would add extra revenue to the business establishments, especially small owners. Secondly, and this is a big thing, you have selling of lottery tickets, bingo games, like I once went, there was a bingo game, and that's a form of gambling. It's the option of the person that wants to play. It's entertainment, a chance to win or lose. So if you have selling of lottery tickets and bingo games throughout Orland Park, you should eliminate that then if gambling is unsafe and illegal. But it isn't. Video gambling is safe, and it must be into Orland Park. Like all these other suburbs and cities, they have video gambling, and those businesses are getting a little percentage of the money and making it because other people could come in, buy food and drink, sit there a while, and keep playing and supporting the establishment. So that's why I favor video gambling. And the real reason that it didn't pass before is because the language, whoever wrote it on the voting election form didn't write it correctly. It should have said, it was so complex and confusing. It should have said, are you in favor of video gambling? Mark yes, Or are you in favor of not having video game marked no? That was so confusing. That's why a lot of people had different meanings and interpretations of that little referendum. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Madeline Flaherty, I'm a longtime resident of Orland. I just want to address the issue that I've heard several times about gambling being an addiction that we have to control, that it targets seniors and other groups. Well, if you extrapolate that logic, then we need to shut down all the liquor licenses, because liquor in this general area, one of the largest groups that AA sponsors meets not too far from here. And I know as a mental health professional, many of those members are able to go to family functions and to other events, and they don't drink. That's up to the families to take care of that issue and the individuals. A friend of mine just buried a 28-year-old son that I watched grow up and tried to help, of a drug addiction. He overdosed after coming out of rehab. So then we should be looking at doctors to stop prescribing medications that can become addictive, that can now be sold on the street. So whichever side you're on, I just think that that's really reasoning that you have to eliminate. We cannot be everybody's keeper. We cannot watch out for everybody. There are other issues that we need to keep an eye on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay, board comments.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Carroll.
First of all, I will honor the request of the village president and not repeat anything I've said in previous meetings, because as he mentioned, we've had probably 7 of these. But there were a few comments I'd like to respond to. One that was said by Ms. Williams and Ms. Friend both, that why aren't we listening to the voters? As mentioned a couple of times by the speakers that came before me, this was an advisory referendum. It's supposed to advise us, give us advice. So to say that we're not listening or we haven't listened, I think our behavior over the last year bears that out as being false. We held 7 meetings before tonight, approximately 6 or 7, to listen to hours, as the mayor said, of testimony. We are listening. But we have other things we're listening to than a very narrowly decided, dual, confusing referendum. I will remind people that our sportsplex, which is used by tens of thousands of people, went to advisory referendum, and the vote was no. And a previous board, and I wasn't on the board then, voted that it was still in the best interest of the village, taking all the evidence they had into consideration to build that sportsplex. And it's been a shining star within our village ever since. I will comment on Mr. Whitmore's question about Wheeler Drive. The sad footnote to your question is your neighbors voted no. We did reach out to all of your neighbors and ask them about ideas. We had to beautify Wheeler Drive, to do traffic throttling and all kinds of other ideas to slow down the traffic on Wheeler Drive, and your neighbors on Wheeler Drive voted no. And staff can provide you those details, because you're shaking your head no, but that's the fact. Mr. Mulvey asked what can we do for other small businesses. We do a lot for other small businesses. We have facade grants. We have other things that we do on a regular basis in the Village of Orland Park to assist our small businesses. It's not just with this issue, it's with dozens of issues. And then the other thing that came up many times tonight was about legal costs. We have had law firms look at this thing till over and over and over again. As Mr. McCarthy mentioned, we've drafted what is known to be the strictest ordinance in the state of Illinois. We've had attorneys from several different law firms look at it, and we are confident, based on all of the evidence we have from legal experts, this ordinance would pass any challenges, that would survive any challenge to its legality. So while Mr. Harmoning asked, has anyone else done a percentage? I don't know, but a lot of other towns have done a number, and it's a percentage is a number. So a lot of other villages and other counties have done a number. They've survived challenge, and all of the experts, the legal experts that have looked at this, tell us that with the home rule powers that we have as a village, this would also survive a challenge. So that, on top of all that, Cook County now has allowed it for unincorporated areas around us, and Palos Heights is re-examining this issue there. Quite possibly by the end of the year, we could be surrounded by counties and municipalities that allow gaming, and that's why I'm going to be voting the way I'm voting. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Ruzick.
just a few comments. We as a board made a decision about 10 months ago to revisit this issue, and we did so because the majority of us who are sitting here today were not elected when the decision to ban it was originally made, and the number of municipalities throughout the state which allow it has dramatically increased. As it stands today, of the 1,497 municipalities throughout the state, video gambling is allowed in 1,365 of them, or approximately 92% of communities throughout the state, several of which border Orland Park. Hearing those numbers makes me understand the comments we have heard from our small businesses, restaurant owners, that they are at a competitive disadvantage. My biggest concern has always been that if we allow video gambling, that it be carefully regulated so as not to change the look and character of our town. Since the ordinance was first proposed several months ago, there have been several restrictions added. There's a cap on the number of licenses, which is no more than 30% of our total Class A liquor license, which equals a maximum of 20 licenses. We have also completed a thorough review of our sign ordinance to make sure that advertising by all our businesses in town is done in a tasteful manner. The most important language in the ordinance for me is that this is being done on a trial basis for 12 months. If our businesses fail to follow the regulations or enforcement becomes too difficult, the board has the option to not renew licenses and repeal this ordinance. While I recognize that neither side will be happy with this ordinance, I believe it is a fair compromise, and that is the reason I will be supporting it.
Trustee Gear.
Okay, as I said before, the primary that we hear so often was fatally flawed. That primary, as you say, having two different motions on there, two different items, and they were conflicted. We were forced into having it at that time. It would have been better to have it in a November election because people hesitate to declare a party allegiance, so they don't necessarily all come out to vote in a referendum. I get that. And someone else said, you know, who's the important, the residents or the businesses? These businesses are very important to us. They're the ones that are supporting the OYA, the school groups, the veterans groups, your kids and what they're doing. There's no question these businesses are very important to Orland Park. Now, that said, I have a problem with this ordinance. I don't like the idea that the license remains with the business. That a business can be sold and it stays there rather than having the next business that is a long-term business member of our community doesn't get a chance at that license. It stays with them, at least this year. I think that's picking winners. I think we're in an attempt to level the playing field with our neighbors. Other communities that have already allowed gaming, we're creating an uneven playing field right here in our own community by picking winners. So with these concerns, I will be voting no on this issue tonight.
Any other comments? Any other comments? So I have a few comments. Mr. Mulvey, the second Mr. Mulvey that came up, said I'm violating the code of ethics in Orland Park. That is not true. And also said I should recuse myself. The question I have to ask is, why me? Because you think I'm the deciding vote, which I may or may not be, I don't know. Everyone else on this board has also taken donations from the same people on the list that you have here as well, either directly or one of them as a member of the First Orland Party. I guess the same comment would apply that I should recuse myself because the chairman of Orland Park against video gaming donated $1,000 to me. This document failed to highlight those donations. The question again is why, because it doesn't fit the narrative. At the end of the day, all of us that are sitting here that run for political office, it does cost money. We do take contributions. I tell everyone the same thing. Support me if you support me, but I'm not always going to vote the way you want. There's too many issues that we face. I'm not going to agree with everyone on everything. My wife is sitting in the back of the room. I can tell you I don't agree with everything, and we don't agree on everything. That's just the way it goes. But what I will do, and I think everyone here, particularly in this issue, is tell you why I'm voting the way I'm voting. So, I personally, I look at the facts. I will tell you that groups that threaten and accuse, and there's been some of that, they don't really have much of a chance of persuading me to agree with their position. And I'm sure most of you in this room feel the same way. We deal a lot better with facts than accusations. That's probably true of just about everybody in here. To address some of the specific issues that were brought, a simple question on the referendum, that's part of the problem with referendums, is it's 2 sentences. This ordinance is 10 pages long. It's not simple. So you're asking people to vote on something that they don't truly understand, and I know from my own experience talking to people, when they start asking me questions about it and I start telling them the details of what has been in there, they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Well, then that's not so bad. And those are people who initially were against it. So I think we know that the issue is extremely divided. To Trustee Ruzik's point, the state of Illinois passed a law allowing video gaming in 2009, and now 92% of Illinois communities allow it. The referendum results were 49 to 51%. 13% of the voting age population supported not allowing video gaming. 13%. That's hardly a mandate. This is a divided issue. The results of this referendum clearly pointed that out. Most of what I've heard in the last probably week from people is, well, you have to follow it because of the referendum. If that's the case, and that's the position you want to take, then the next board meeting you want us to pass legalizing marijuana, because that passed 54 to 46. So maybe some of you do, but I'm guessing that most of you don't. So the point is that that's why we don't rule by referendum. Referendums subvert the elected officials. That's why we have elections. And the advisory referendums are something Illinois uses all the time to politicize issues. Orland Square Mall would not be here if it would have went to a referendum. The people who voted it in all got voted out of office because that was the referendum. They didn't like it. But I think we would all agree, without Orland Square Mall, we wouldn't have the town that we have right now because of the economic engine that we have. Trustee Carroll brought up the Sportsplex. That vote, by the way, was 55 to 45 against the Sportsplex, just in case you're wondering. So overall, I think this issue is very evenly divided. It's been 3 town halls, several other public meetings. We've listened to emails, letters, and the polls, and still I come across with the same conclusion. It's pretty evenly divided. Additionally, this issue was put on the agenda as a political issue, and until the board deals with it, it's going to continue to be that, and it's going to continue to divide us. My position on this issue has remained consistent since I was first asked during the last campaign, which dates back to December of 2016. I am not philosophically opposed to video gaming as long as it's tightly controlled, and also that it was not an important issue for me and not one that I would push, which I certainly haven't. But what I did say is I would insist on several public hearings, because we definitely need to hear from the public on this, and we've had that. We had 3 special meetings, we've had at least 2 or 3 other meetings, we've had this meeting, and even people who spoke at every single one of them 6 or 7 times really haven't added anything new. We said, come on down and speak. We've listened. We are voting tonight on the most restrictive gaming ordinance in the state of Illinois. I don't think there's any question about that. I share real concerns about picking winners and losers. I think everyone here on this board's probably heard me say that. I don't have any problems with limiting the Class A licenses. Because, for example, I don't think gas stations compete with restaurants. I would prefer that a Class A business that meets the other restrictions, rather than placing a limit, that they have to meet all the restrictions and then we didn't place a limit. However, we have board members that would like to limit it, and I understand that position as well, and we're going to be revisiting it in another year. Our legal advisors, as Trustee Carroll pointed out, have assured us that the method for issuing license is fair and will hold up against any court challenges. With all this said, this vote is hard for all of us on this board floor. I'm no exception, because I think everyone on this board floor sees both sides of the issue, and we see how divided it is. We've seen it pit family members against family members. We've seen it pit neighbor against neighbor. We've seen it. Regardless of how each trustee votes, I know that they've given it a lot of thought, and there are valid reasons to vote either way. So if you're pro-gaming and people vote against it, they have valid reasons for doing that. If you're anti-gaming and people are voting for it, they have valid reasons for doing that. We have studied this issue ad nauseum, and it's a divided issue. There are good rationale on both sides of it. I applaud all of the trustees for showing up tonight, because recusing yourself and ducking the vote isn't acceptable. That's why they elected us to sit in these chairs to make these hard decisions, and we all showed up to make these hard decisions. Well, this is a difficult vote. The extensive restrictions and annual review make me comfortable that this ordinance will not change the character of Orland Park. Therefore, I will be a yes vote.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Fenton.
I've been pretty quiet down here, which is rare. But with all due respect, the comment that was made about Mr. Mulvey's sheet, the people that were highlighted for donations on here, anybody can pull my campaign record for the last 26 years, and I haven't taken any money from these individuals that were highlighted on this sheet. As far as the issue before us this evening, I agree with Trustee Ruzick on what she said. This has been a gut-wrenching decision. I would say the majority of the people that I know, number one, don't vote in primaries. They don't like declaring a party. They felt that it was very unfair where the referendum was placed. I also agree with Marilyn in the audience. We have bigger issues in society, and we have no control over what people do. Whether you go to a restaurant and you order a Coke, which is addictive too, or if you order a drink, that's up to the individual. I had a lot of issues with the original ordinance and this whole topic. Items that I was concerned about were addressed. As Trustee Ruzick has mentioned, this is a one-year deal. I'll tell you right now, the businesses out there, whoever, and I don't know who's going to get the 20 licenses. I have no clue. You screw up once, and you're done. And that, I think, I speak on behalf of the entire board. If this passes tonight, that's a message that's out there. And I've spoken to a lot of people, and I will stand by that. So, but that's all I have to say. I just wanted to clear the record on Mr. Mulvey's sheet from my record.
Mayor Pico.
Trustee Dodge.
Just a couple of quick comments. Some, as you may know, I've been spending a lot of time lately driving around the state of Illinois, and you get to see a lot of other towns and how they handle signage. And my sense, being on this journey, is that many people are concerned about what this does for the look and feel of Orland Park. I think the word that popped up most often in the emails and calls and the conversations I've had is, how do you control for what this does for the look and feel in Orland Park? And one of the things that I'm still trying to wrestle with is how far can we go with local control, which I think we all want, and essential issues of First Amendment rights. And so this has been a very challenging issue, and I can assure everybody here, however this vote goes, everybody on this board, the trustees and the mayor, have been trying to be open-minded and have worked the problem, and have got we see both sides of the argument. We've got businesses who are trapped in a sea of uncompetitiveness. We've also got the risk going forward that, folks that are here now are all decent people that are running these businesses, supporting the local economy, and what comes next. So there's challenges with something like this. So just making sure everybody in the room hears, it's been a tough vote. We're all up here as you see. We're listening. We get it. In this kind of a form of government, you got to take in all sides and then make the best decision you can. And like I said, ultimately there's some challenges out there with what you can or cannot regulate in terms of local businesses and the First Amendment. So those are my comments. Well, you'll know in a second. I've been doing this for a while, so I've been more than a few of these rodeos.
Are there any other comments? So the motion to pass ordinance number 5319, entitled an ordinance creating a new chapter 18 video gaming of Title VII Business and License of the Orland Park Village Code and making other changes relative to video gaming within the village has been put. Call the roll.
Trustee Carroll.
Aye.
Trustee Rizek.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
No.
Trustee Guerra.
No.
Trustee Calandrello.
No.
Mayor Pico.
Aye. The motion carries 4-3.
Ready?
Yep.
Operation Staffing Service Delivery Assessment.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Carroll.
I move to approve awarding a contract to Matrix Consulting Group of Palo Alto, California, to provide organizational staffing analysis services as outlined in their July 27th, 2018 proposal in an amount not to exceed $60,000.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Carroll.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Guerra.
Aye.
Trustee Ruzek.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
That's it. Nobody else signed in.
Is there anybody else here to speak? Board comments, Trustee Guerra.
I'd first like to thank our CSO, Officer Sam Budo, for, he's just another fine example of the officers that we have in our police department and how they interact with the general public. Great example. And then, of course, thank you to our staff, Director Flores, Director Couch, and all of their team, especially Doreen Baila, Ray Piatoni, Irene Buchema, and Kurt Heinlein, that led the way for one more successful and wonderful Taste of Orland Park. That's it.
Trustee Carroll.
Kudos to all the bike riders and support staff on the Illinois Concerns of Police Survivors Run. I was following that joyfully, watching their progress over the 400-mile ride on social media. They were a fine group of representatives from this village. Also, congratulations to staff on an excellent planned and executed Taste of Orland Park.
Trustee Dodge.
Echo some of the comments from Pat and Mike. Definitely a great job, great fest. Always helps to have a cold beer on a hot summer night, so we're happy for that. Looking forward to working with staff as we expand that and grow out our concert series and kind of achieve some of those long-range visions we had. And just a broad comment about tonight, the system works. You know, we had the debate. People spoke their minds, people spoke their hearts. You know, we made a decision, and then let's see how it goes for our broader community. And I think that the fact that this was largely an open dialogue, it was relatively civil, which you tend not to get in other parts of the country, namely Washington or Springfield. So happy to see us actually having a community and an adult conversation. So let's get on with
it. Trustee Fenton.
Just like to thank staff for a great weekend. Would have been nice if Mother Nature would have kept a little bit cooler, but the evening did cool down. Everybody had a good time. A lot of hard work goes into that and everything that staff put in, so please, I've already sent an email out stating, you know, that was a fantastic event. Also, something to think about, may possibly the board can consider any revenue that we do get from gaming in the first year, in case it only goes for 1 year, that money be earmarked to go back into programs that the residents could go to, i.e. concerts out at Colette Highlands or concerts in the park or anything like that. Let's send it back to the community and maybe not spend it on a consultant or something. Just a thought.
Trustee Calandrello.
I'm not going to repeat everyone, but I just want to thank staff again for the hard work with the Taste. I got this number yesterday, between the Taste of Orland and the pool, because it was a hot day, we had more than 50,000 people come to our facilities. So hopefully they stopped, they shopped, they ate, they went home happy. So I just want to thank staff and everyone for coming out, and I look forward to working with everyone, and I support Trustee Fenton's idea about keeping the revenue into programming for our residents, because that's something that we always get cut and cut and cut. So it'd be nice to have a little boost in the revenue, especially that we don't have a park district, so we don't have a funding source dedicated to Parks and Rec, which sometimes hurts the funding, which does hurt the funding. So thank you.
Trustee Ruzick.
Just kudos to staff. It was a great taste of Orland this year. Despite the heat, it seemed like we had record crowds again. So good job.
So also kudos to staff. Great job at Taste of Orland. Also congratulations. I believe the staff won the softball tournament. Is that correct? With the loaded team full of cops. So good job on that. Also, I want to give kudos to the Board of Trustees on this issue. This was the most divisive. I mean, we've had some issues that have been challenging, to say the least, over the last 14 or 15 months. This issue, there's no question, is the most divided issue amongst the public, for sure, and clearly the most divisive and with the highest emotions running from the public. And the board handled itself very well through this whole process. Stayed very professional through the whole process. I think all of us, even though we're on different sides, all realize what a challenging vote this was. So I just want to say kudos to the entire board for how the gaming issue was handled. So thank you very much. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.